Welcome to LinearBeyond. I'm Ori Keren. I'm the co-founder and CEO of LinearB, and with me is Dan Lyons, the co-founder and COO of LinearB. Over the next hour, we're going to share some amazing stories about things we're going to launch in the product. We have some amazing research data that we want to share. But before we do that, Dan and I want to share a little bit about the story of how we got here.
We launched LinearB in 2019, and of course, a lot has happened in the world since then. Good news is there are a lot of engineering leaders that want to be more data-driven and a lot of developers that are working more asynchronously. We are grateful that LinearB has thrived during that time period. We have 5,000 development teams using LinearB. We have 80,000 developers. And we also have an amazing dev interrupted community with thousands of engineering leaders working with each other every day.
And actually, Dan is even too modest about his Dev Interrupted podcast. We got over 20,000 downloads, and we had amazing guests from like GitHub, GitLab, Netflix, and his blog posts are even more popular. They get 1 million views. We learned a lot from every engineering leader that we spoke to in the last 3 years, and I speak to at least between 5 to 10 every week. What you're telling us is that top-down improvement is great, getting the visibility is great, but it's not enough. This is why LinearB has created a 3-pillar approach where you get like the business alignment for CDOs and VPs of engineering, the dev pipeline observability for team leaders to kind of understand where the bottlenecks are, but the missing piece, and this is where we're investing a lot of our resources, is the developer workflow optimization. You gotta leverage the developers if you really want to improve with a bottom-up approach. And this is what's really unique about LinearB. Today, you're gonna hear all about those 3 pillars in a very exciting day, and it's gonna start right now.
Cut.
You're stressing out.
No, now I'm making it fun.
Hey, I'm Rocco Saboth, coming to you from rainy, beautiful Seattle. I'm the head of community here at LinearB. Shout out to my friends in the Dev Interrupted Discord. I've had the pleasure of meeting hundreds of engineering leaders over the past few years. And one of the problems that comes up a lot is how challenging it is translating engineering to business. Things like communicating accurate delivery dates, or negotiating priorities, or advocating for more hires. And that's why I'm happy to be talking to you about the LinearB business alignment pillar. All right, let's get to our first big feature announcement of the day. I'm really pumped to share that Project Delivery Tracker is now generally available. Project Delivery Tracker shows you key stats for your most important projects, including people investment, the amount of people or teams that are working on this project, investment profile, the different types of tasks that you're working on in this project. Progress tracker shows you the amount of velocity and progress you're making. And planning accuracy, if you operate in Scrum, shows you how accurate you are. Project Delivery Tracker updates automatically and shows you everything you need to communicate with the business about what you're working on at a glance. It initially works with Jira, and in 2022, we'll be adding support for many other project management systems. So why do we need Project Delivery Tracker? Let me give you some context. We built it to help you answer 2 important questions you get all the time. When is feature XYZ or project XYZ going to be ready? And how can we accelerate project XYZ? To know the answer to those questions, you would need to know 4 things first. Number 1, you need to know who is working on project XYZ, which developers or which teams. Secondly, you need to know what else they're working on. What are the competing priorities? You need to know the current status of project XYZ, of course. And then you also need to know what blockers, including technical blockers, are slowing us down from delivering. And we use Jira at LinearB. We love it. It's a great tool. But unfortunately, project management tools like Jira don't provide us with that information. So it makes it really difficult for us to have that conversation with our CEO or business leaders in a way that they can understand. And if you look at this example of an Epic report that's on the screen, you'll see that while we love Jira and it's a powerful tool and we use it, unfortunately, it doesn't help us answer those questions. So when it comes to trying to have that conversation to not only be able to answer the question of when a big feature or project is going to be ready, or to have the negotiation about how we can move resources around from one project to another in order to accelerate a priority project faster, it just doesn't give us what we need. Okay, let's double click into Project XYZ and go into the expanded view and take a look at what Project Delivery Tracker can do for you. On the left-hand side, you'll see that we show you data for your project across 4 dimensions: people effort, investment profile, delivery progress, and planning accuracy. People effort is really useful. It shows you who's working on your project, what percentage of your team is working on this project, and it shows you that trend over time. This helps you ensure that you have the right amount of resources in your organization working on your most important projects. It also makes that negotiation with the business really easy if you need to help them visualize the consequences of moving people or teams from one project to another. Investment profile helps you keep track of the amount of work you're doing across different issue types in your project, so you can make sure you're spending enough time on new customer-facing features, ensuring that you're fixing bugs or chipping away at technical debt every period or iteration, and also helps you visualize whether or not you're investing enough in non-functional work. Delivery makes it easy for you to see if you're making progress by seeing the amount of issues and story points being completed. And planning accuracy, if you use Scrum, is really useful for showing bottlenecks in your process. Unplanned work is a really common issue in big or long-standing projects. And the planning accuracy chart not only shows you how good your engineering team is at planning, but it can actually show you bottlenecks that are harmful to your project, like a large amount of unknown technical debt or a lot of scope creep with new tickets being added in during your sprint. One big differentiator for the project delivery tracker is how flexible it is. You can create new projects or edit your existing projects self-service at any time. And unlike other tools that read data from your Jira or project management system, Project Delivery Tracker requires you to make absolutely 0 changes to the way you work with your project management tool in order for it to be effective and visualize all the data that you need. Your projects can be based on any combination of boards, epics, or labels, and Project Delivery Tracker works great if you're working in Scrum, Kanban, or any other way of working. Unlike other tools that read data from your Jira, Project Delivery Tracker doesn't require you to make any changes to the way you work with project management or Jira. Everything you've just seen is available right now, so if you don't already have it, ask your account manager or customer success manager, and they'll get it turned on for you today. Okay, now I'm going to give you a sneak peek into some roadmap items coming up over the next few months for Project Delivery Tracker. The first really cool thing is called Context Hover. It allows you to quickly see the why behind any of the data or trends you're seeing in the Project Delivery Tracker. So say, for example, that you noticed in your last iteration, the number of people working on Project XYZ went down. Hover, and you'll see details around which developers exited the project and which new ones came in. Or maybe you want to understand why you had more bugs in Project XYZ. Hover, and you'll see exactly what those bugs were that you worked on that took away from you building new functionality. Or potentially you had a lot of unplanned work in the latest iteration for Project XYZ. Hover, and you'll see those exact tickets so you can figure out how to get to the bottom of it and improve it for the next iteration. The other cool thing coming for Project Delivery Tracker is Advanced Git Activity View. One of the things that LinearB is already really great at is correlating the real work happening in Git with your stories. Some of you may already be using Pulse. It's a revolutionary view that shows you a live timeline of activity happening in Git correlated to the features, bugs, stories, issues happening in your Jira project management system. Now imagine that level of context about what your developers are working on inside of your projects view. That'll be coming early in 2022. So that's it for me. If you don't have Project Delivery Tracker turned on, send an email to your success manager or your account executive, and we'll get it taken care of for you right away. Please come join me in the Dev Interrupted Discord anytime. I'd love to chat. And thanks for your time.
Thanks, Rocco. Love learning about our Project Delivery Tracker. Looks great. Hi, my name is Ran Shetrit. I'm the VP of Product in LinearB. Excited to talk to you today about pipeline observability. We have some cool announcement and even a great sneak preview to our roadmap. I would like to start our pipeline observability journey with an announcement. We now support all 4 DORA metrics. If you ask yourself, what are DORA metrics? Through 6 years of research, the DevOps Research and Assessment, DORA team, has identified 4 key metrics that indicate the performance of a software development team, described in detail in the famous book Accelerate and the Google Cloud website dedicated to DORA metrics. DORA metric traditionally split into 2 parts. The first part of DORA metrics is about dev team efficiency or speed, starting with cycle time. Cycle time is essentially the amount of time it takes for a piece of code to get into production. Cycle time includes coding time, review process, and deployment to production. A goal for elite teams would be to complete this cycle in less than 2 days on average. Some elite teams actually can do that in less than 1 day. The second metric is deploy frequency, or how often an organization successfully releases to production. Elite teams should aim to deploy on demand, which usually result in multiple deployments per day on average. Now, the second part of DORA metrics is all about quality and recovery, starting with MTTR, or mean time to restore. In simple words, how long does it take to your organization to recover from a failure in production? The goal or a benchmark is to recover from production incident in less than a day on average. Use this link on the presentation to start measuring mean time to recover in your org today. Our fourth metric is CFR, or change failure rate. CFR is the percentage of deployment causing failure in production. It sounds simple, but getting CFR right can be tricky and might vary from one organization to another. Our CFR capability is currently in beta. We can take few more design partners in our CFR beta program. Use this email to save your CFR beta seat today. Happy to announce our new pipeline observability flow, the one-click context. We've introduced a new one-click flow which enable you to highlight which actions affected your team delivery metrics, with additional context about why you're doing well or poorly. An example would be which pull request waited long time to be reviewed and impacted my team review time. With a one-click context, you can quickly pivot from a metric to context and identify the highest contributor to these metrics. It can be a long PR pickup that impacted the pickup metrics, or a group of them taking my pickup to be read. It's all about the ability to easily identify bottleneck or efficiency, get the right context, learn, and improve. One more announcement, our custom deployment API. The ability to detect releases to production reliably can vary from one org to another, depending on an org structure or the architecture. Today, Our release detection supports three methods: detect releases using tags, a PR to a dedicated branch, or a direct merge to a dedicated branch. We're announcing a fourth method, our custom deployment API. The ability to identify accurately releases by embedding a call to our custom deployment API from your CI/CD pipeline. It is a generic approach and can practically support any CI/CD pipeline. Since it's embedded in your pipeline, we can accurately identify your releases and also support measure or complex or multi-stage deployment scenarios. If your deployment incorporate build, QA, staging, or other deployment stages, use our custom deployment API to start accurately measuring your deployment process. Now, let's have a preview to what's coming to the pipeline observability in the next 6 months. Starting with incident management integration, we build a flexible API that can accurately measure deployments to production and support various deployment scenarios. We did not stop there. We plan to leverage and extend our flexible API platform to support additional data sources, starting with incident management platforms like PagerDuty or Zendesk. Getting production incident data from these platforms will allow us to get two benefits. One is to improve the accuracy of MTTR by integrating with production incident platform, get the data directly from systems that monitor and page dev teams about production incidents. The second benefit of getting the production incident directly from these systems is the ability to create an accurate CFR. A quick reminder, CFR is the percentage of deployment causing a failure in production. It's a combination of incidents that impacted your production combined with your releases. Getting the production incident data combined with releases information could be tricky and might vary from one org to another. To make sure that you can influence, save your seat in our CFR beta. Let's talk about team goals and industry benchmark. A new item in design these days is the ability to highlight industry benchmark added to our metrics. It's a very popular ask. Getting the industry benchmark can ease your team alignment with industry standard and can help you compare your team performance to industry standards. Get to or maintain an elite performance easily. We also plan to add the ability to set a metric goal for your team around a metric or set of metrics. So you can align your team around the shared goal to incrementally get better and communicate the team goals clearly. Last but not least, our retrospective center. An additional item coming to pipeline observability is a retrospective focused view. Our goal in this view is to enable team leaders and teams to automatically get the delivery, quality, and pipeline metrics required for an effective retrospective meeting, including what the team planned this iteration, what got executed, which items added to the iteration by mid-iteration, what was the unplanned work that this team delivered this sprint, like bugs or scope creep, what was the team average cycle time, the team work breakdown, is it new code or refactor, etc. We also plan to couple this information with insights and action items generated by LinearB and a team member themselves. We want to start getting customer feedback, so use this email to contact us about your retrospective need. Thank you very much for your time today. I would like to now introduce Hadar and Ishai from our CTO office.
Hi, I am Hadar and I am a data scientist here in LinearB.
Hi, and I'm Ishai, and I'd like to introduce a new feature, estimated review time for WorkerB. This seemingly small feature is actually an advanced feature based on a lot of data and research that lets developers know how much time they should expect to be spending reviewing a PR. In a minute, we'll dive into the research that is driving this feature, and we'll tell you more about why this is so important. But before that, I'd like to remind you about WorkerB. So for those of you who do not know about WorkerB, WorkerB is a smart bot that interacts with developers where they live, which is in Slack and Teams. It tells developers about progress that is happening on PRs that they're working on, and lets them know that they can take the next step and help push the PR forward, help progress their work faster. This helps in solving communication breakdown and attention breakdown in the delicate progress of a PR in the review process. It gives you a full context into the branch, the Git, the Jira context for your work. It lets you understand what you should be doing now. The estimated review time tells you how much you should be expecting to spend doing the review, and it ultimately helps you reduce idle time in the process of moving a PR from open to merged. So Adar, can you tell us a bit more about the research that you've done into the PR review process?
Sure. So in the last month, I've been analyzing over than 700,000 of PR, almost 4 million comments and reviews, and of 25,000 of developers. We focus on the review process, and we find very interesting insight. PR have a lot of idle time. Half of the PR are idle over than 50% of their time, and a third of the PR are idle almost 80% of the time. The typical PR process is between 2 days to 4 days, and just imagine that, the PR is sitting there without any action, without any progress. We also saw that if your PR spend more than one workday, so 50% of the PR are idle over than 80% of their time. So the vast majority of the process is idle, and this is very bad. We'll publishing these research later this month, so you can email me if you want to get into the waitlist. There are two types of idle time. One, transition time, the common one, is between people that working on the same PR, the time that the PR waiting for someone else's action. And the vast majority of the idle time amounts in the PR is transition time. The second is distraction time. Someone started an action, stopped because interruption or misplanning, and continued after that. And this time between those areas is distraction time, is idle and is because of distraction. So we understood how much idle time is common, and there's two types of it. And I want to ask you, Ishai, why do you think idle time is so damaging?
Sure. So idle time is more damaging than you think. It's not just the time, the longer time that the PR takes from start to finish, which we know affects your cycle time and increases risk in your delivery. But it's also, whenever you have material idle time inside the process, your developers are going to spend effort and cognitive tasks of reloading the information, rereading code that they've already read, rereading comments, basically getting back into understanding what this piece of work is about, what it has to change. So every time you stop doing something and then get back to it, you need to reload that. And idle time really causes a lot of those cycles of reloading and rereading, and all that waste can go away if you're able to reduce idle time, push it down, and make sure that you start and finish work on a PR in relatively short sittings. So WorkerB estimated review time is a tool to help developers reduce idle time. WorkerB in general helps developers reduce idle time by making sure that they have the right information, the right context at the right time. So broken communication and attention around the handoff, around transition time is really reduced by WorkerB. And estimated review time helps developers make informed decisions about when to start working on something, typically a code review. If I'm looking at a PR that is going to take me a few minutes to review, then I may jump and just do it right now, even if I have a meeting in 10 minutes. I know I can start and finish and help the team make progress with this PR. On the other hand, if I'm seeing that this PR is going to take me 30 minutes or maybe even an hour, I'm not even going to start unless I know that I have this time to start and finish in one sitting. This helps me make informed decisions and helps a developer reduce the nasty effects of distraction idle time by starting and finishing something and having the right context before even deciding to work on something. I'd like to also introduce 3 features that are coming out in the next month in WorkerB. We have thousands of developers using WorkerB every week. giving us some incredible feedback. And one of the things that we constantly hear is that developers never want to log into Jira. They want to work on their code and make sure that the Jira context is available and connected without having to go and create a ticket or to attach their work to a ticket. So one thing we'll be pushing out is a one-click solution doing that directly in WorkerB. You can start working on your code, and then WorkerB will let you connect your efforts into Jira without even having to go into Jira. Another thing we'll be adding is richer context and quicker actions for smaller code reviews. If the code review of the PR is small, you will get more context directly in WorkerB. You can make the decision, approve or request changes directly in WorkerB, and you never have to click away and go to a longer process to finish or to make that next step in your PR. And finally, if your PR is ready, someone has approved your PR and you're ready to merge it, that is also going to be a one-click option in WorkerB, so you can finish the work, get the PR merged without even leaving Slack or Teams, and basically push forward with your work. The theme across all of these is letting developers move on faster, saving them more minutes every day, and letting the developers and the team just push on with more shorter cycles and more value that is delivered to their customers. I'd really love to get your feedback, so email me with your thoughts and ideas about these features and additional ones you'd like to see in WorkerB. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all these great sessions. As you've seen today, our engineering team and product team are working really, really hard for you and for your team to improve on a daily basis, and for other customers as well. And they do so by adopting our philosophy, which is the three-pillar philosophy. So quickly reviewing what it is, it's business alignment for CTOs and VPs of engineering that basically they want to see that we're working on the right set of problems and we open a conversation around what do we need to tweak in that area. It's about pipeline observability, which means is our dev pipeline open, like to move things fast. So basically things like DORA metrics and other things that you can optimize and make sure that there are no bottlenecks. And the third, last but not least, is the developer workflow optimization, which is basically when you ask developers what's dev productivity to you, they will say to you, hey, if I can focus on my craft and solve important problems, and you can take the burden and the cognitive overload of like managing PRs and Jira tickets, etc., then it helps me with dev productivity, and this is what we do. Now, if I need to pick a favorite, it's really, really hard. There were great sessions, but what really caught me is the research with like the new data that kind of show like how much time PRs are idle. Definitely an area that we want to double down and suggest like more improvement as we proceed. And also as a developer, if I had this one click on Slack and open a Jira ticket for me and save me the login, that would be my favorite feature. I'm super grateful that you joined us today and took the time to listen to the feature. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully we can see you in some of the next sessions. And one last thing, we really want to talk to you, whether you're a customer and you want to think about how can I utilize the tool better, or your prospect and you still think, hey, should I adopt a software delivery intelligence tool and which one is the best one for me? Talk to us. And even if you're still in the beginning of your journey and you don't know if that's something you want to do, talk to us. Some of the coolest ideas that we had were from those conversations. So I'm Ori. You can find me at ori@linearb.io, and then my partner at dan@linearb.io. Just send us an email. We'll definitely talk. And one last thing, have a happy holidays. Make sure you take some time to spend with your dear ones or just chill. Burnout is a true risk of this era. So take care of yourself, and hopefully I'll see you soon in one of our next events. Thank you. Thank you, and see you in the next event.
Saba.
It's a wrap!